talent acquisition and development. With an insightful 18+ years of experience in strategic HR, facilitating change management, talent acquisition, development, and retention strategies for software development, R&D, and digital logistics organization. A professional who has been enjoying success in implementing new HR techniques as an effective change agent, and a valued contributor to key strategic initiatives, right from conceptualization to facilitating implementation. Build HR functions from scratch for multiple organizations and build inclusive culture. And I can add here that I've been we have been known, I think, more than 10 years now, when you were there in our systems and I was there with one of the management institutions. And I've seen Neetu as a dedicated person, and this is, because it's written an effective communicator, excellent relationship, influencing skills, strong analytical problem solving, and organizational abilities, which she all imbibes actually in herself. So, and her area of expertise is culture building, strategic HR, talent management, performance management, rewards and recognition, compensation, PCMML5, CMMIL5. So this, you will tell us what is this technology terms means. So
Sure.
we will have a power-packed session with Neetu. And Neetu, these are our first year students, and this is a pre-orientation program I've briefed by you. So we have a 1 hour session with these students, and students, you can post your questions in the question and answer chat box, and we'll be happy to sort out your questions. Yes, any questions from the lecture, apart from the lecture, whatever questions do you have? Over to you, Neetu.
Thank you, Vartika, Dr. Vartika. It's like over years now. Yeah. Vartika has got doctor added
Correct.
to it. It's pleasure knowing her from very long, and this week she connected and gave me the context. I was happy to be part of this session with all of you, and would like to extend my thanks to Jaipuria Institute's management team and leadership team to give me this opportunity to be part of this interaction. These days, anyways, you feel like, you're just involved into your normal stuff, and I always like such opportunities where I am talking to the freshers, in the college or in the internship programs, or, orienting them when they are part of the organization. So happy to be part of all of your this session today. And my session is basically, more towards helping you understand the resilience, or in the time of change, how we are coping up with that change. So let me just share my presentation, and then from there, we'll just pick it up. In the meantime, what Vartika mentioned was people, CMM. These are basically people practices,
okay,
or the models, which are global models, and the frameworks, which allows organizations to stick to a process. So
okay.
people CMM is basically people capability maturity model,
Okay.
and CMM is basically, capability maturity model. Okay. So I was fortunate multiple times to implement these in various organizations.
Okay.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, it's visible, Neetu.
Okay, excellent. So students, this is the topic today: how to thrive in changing times. Or I read in the announcement pamphlet or the flyer is resilience. So I encourage all of you to make it a more interactive session. Otherwise, I feel like I'm sitting in my home talking to my laptop. So be open and be expressive while we are discussing, so that I know this group is coming along the moment we are going to the next material. Next slides. Let me just hide this pane, otherwise I'm seeing the half of it. Yes. So if you can see, I'm sure you must be seeing already, there's a woman who's in the middle of so many things, and there's a woman who's sitting with such a calm. That is possible, whatever situations we are in, whatever we are dealing, it is possible, but it is basically how we are looking at it, what kind of a resilience we are showing, how we are coping up with the things which is happening around us. Challenging yourself to change. Why you think it is important? I'm also looking at, Vartika, you need to help me with the questions, because
Sure,
when
sure, sure, sure.
uh,
I'll do that.
so if the idea is to make it more interactive, so that I
Correct,
know,
correct.
it's all real life experience which I have tried to build into it. The rest,
Hmm.
everything, you have excellent professors, you have excellent books around. I'm sure you'll be able to take it up from there. I've tried to imbibe my 1.5 years experience into it
Hmm.
during pandemic, and the real life experience of like 15, 16 years while transitioning from a student to a professional, but I still
Hmm.
call myself a student. Okay, so challenging yourself to change. Why we think it is important? It is important because whatever we want to do, it cannot be done in the current state, what we are today. So there is certainly a need to modify your approach, your behavior, your learnings to do something new. Second, it is not the same world which we were living in a couple of years back. It's a very different world where nobody's stepping out. I'm sure all the students who are listening to me today must be hating to sitting at home and attending the session. Think of a situation where you are getting ready, coming to the college,
Hmm.
sitting in the classroom, meeting me personally. I meet you all personally, feel the energy. So that all is missing. But yes, thanks to the technology, at least we are able to move things ahead through keeping ourselves safe, and also, coming together virtually.
Hmm.
So while I was talking about, to reach to the new heights, you need to take up the challenge. If we are not taking up the challenges which means we are not growing. So I keep asking myself this question time to time, that whether I am in a challenging situation or not. If I am not, then that means I'm in a wrong place, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. All right. So why change? Help me
Okay,
with the
so
questions.
sure, sure. So you people can have this question answer or chat box, and you can write your answers. Why change?
Yeah.
Soumya, Ramil, Devinder. Why change? Okay.
The question. Yeah.
To stay in the competition. Okay, Prince. Good. Some we are waiting for the answers. Deepak. Change is the most important thing for growth. Okay.
Okay. A good attempt, I must say. Prince, and who was the other one?
Deepak and Soumya to know where we are. Okay.
Okay. Can I give you the name of a couple of students towards the end of the session, and maybe something from your side and my side to them who
Sure,
are more
sure, sure. Sure.
participative?
Sure,
Sure.
sure, sure. Okay, so this is what HR does, people. So this is what incentive from the HR side. Prince, Deepak, Ayushi. Okay, Ayushi Singh to become flexible.
Mm-hmm. Very
Prince,
nice.
Deepak, Ayushi, and Soumya.
Okay,
Hmm.
great. I think all the answers, I really like it. Reason being, change is important, as I earlier said, also again repeating myself, and will keep repeating myself my entire life. If I am not challenging myself, I am not changing. And if I'm not changing, I'm not moving ahead. I am in my same zone where I am. And then I can't go back and complain to anybody in the world that, things are not happening good or the way I want it. Right. So thank you for your responses. Now
So we
look at
have
this.
three, I'll just interrupt. We have three more responses and then we'll get. So the responses are there. Thank you, students. Pratik is saying change is part of life. Kanika is saying to find new me. Okay. Anirudh, ma'am, how can a pessimist approach in business? Okay, Anirudh, we'll sort out the questions later. And Rashmi is saying because our nature and surroundings demand change. Yes.
Hmm, okay.
Yeah.
Now, Vartika, it's your responsibility to keep the tap of the names,
Correct,
and
correct. I'll do that.
we'll
I'll do
see
that.
towards the end what we are
Sure,
doing
sure, sure.
together. Okay. Now, if you look at this picture, all of you very good answers. I must say that now I'm feeling that I'm along with all of you now today.
Correct.
Okay, so this picture, if you see, there's a butterfly, beautiful butterfly. Whenever we think of something beautiful, such things comes in our mind. Butterfly, peacock, a beautiful, colorful creature on the earth, right? So, or the mountain, or the pleasantness, think of, what you like, what is beauty, you start correlating a couple of things. Now I'm sticking to butterfly for a moment. Do you think a beautiful butterfly can happen or can become a beautiful butterfly without going through a painful process? The answer is no, right? There is a caterpillar, there is a shell, there is an egg in the beginning, then there is a caterpillar. Caterpillar is, shedding out its shell so many times to become a baby butterfly, then further stretches their wings to become a bigger butterfly and then beautiful butterfly. So this is a painful process. It is not happening in a day. The other example which I wanted to share with all of you today is about molting process of eagle. Has anybody of you heard about this process? Phoenix, you must have heard, Phoenix in a lot of sense, like movies or the creatures or the, play person. But I'm talking about a molting process which eagle needs to go through if eagle has decided to live for another 40, 50 years. Otherwise die. There is a choice. So the choice is to die or to live fresh, new, reborn. So in that process, what happens, there is a 150 days process. Eagle needs to go somewhere in isolation, shed their feather, beaks, beak, their claws, everything. And everything comes again back. And they need to do it everything on their own, removing everything comes back again. So think how painful it is, right? So if, again, the choice, caterpillar has a choice not to push himself for further steps. Similarly, eagle has a choice to end the life versus change. So I'm sure a lot of students who have their parents working or relatives or cousin brother or brothers working somewhere must be hearing all of this these days because they are back in house or maybe in the hometowns and then trying to work from there and coping up with this change. Whosoever is not, or whosoever may have, have gone through a lot of loss personally, professionally, needs to come back like an eagle, right? And for that, that's your own resilience, which is going to help you. All right, let me try playing this video. If it works, else we'll go to the next slide. Give me a second, this ad will go. How to share. 1 second. Can you hear?
No, I can't. Yeah, no.
Can you hear?
No, no, no.
Okay, let me see if I can share. Yes, I think I'll be able to share now.
Yes, we can see it, but then it's not, we can't hear it. So
मैम ऑडियो शेयर कीजिए, जब आप शेयर करते हैं ना तो वहाँ पर ऑडियो शेयर का भी होता है.
Share sound?
हाँ, ऑडियो को शेयर कीजिए, बटन उसे प्रेस कीजिए.
Repeating, you're getting
Yes,
angry.
yes.
Can you hear now?
I would gladly
Yes.
take more cabs
Okay.
when there is little change in how that industry operates.
So let me tell you this gentleman, his name is Sinek. Has anybody heard this name earlier? Yes, no?
yes, no. People, you can type in the chat box. Yes, no.
Or you can raise hand for yes.
Sure. So you can raise hand for yes. So then we can see that hands are raised. Huh? Okay. No, ma'am. Okay, so we have reply no.
Okay, awesome. So I'm introducing you one personality I've already met today. My name is Neetu Singh. The other one you are meeting, his name is
Author.
Sinek,
Okay.
author, speaker, and very unique orator who brings the the aspects, whatever we are dealing, in a more refined way. So I'm sure when I'm introducing you today, you'll love hearing him for so many other things which he speaks about. But I'm just playing it now.
In any industry can get lazy when there is little change in how that industry operates. And then when there's a sudden change to how the industry operates, everybody gets angry, panics, and points a finger. I'll give you an example. Okay? I'll give you two examples. Example number one. Taxi companies around the world hate Uber. Right? Now, here's the reality. The app that calls a car, not proprietary. You can call a taxi with an app. Right? Paying with your phone, not proprietary. Any taxi can do that as well. The reason Uber is eating taxi companies for lunch is because it's a better product. And the taxi companies around the world could have a shitty product because you're the only game in town and we had no choice. And now you have a competitor, and instead of competing, you're getting angry. I would gladly take more cabs than call services if I got in the cab and he said hi and it was clean and I had a nice chat with him and he wasn't on the phone and he wasn't smoking and all of these things and I had some leg room. I'd gladly. It has nothing to do with the app, the pay mechanism. It has to do with the fact that Juno and Lyft are just better. It's just a better experience, better product. That's why I take them. It costs $1 more. Whatever, I'll pay for it. It's not even a price thing. I have no idea if it's cheaper or more expensive. I actually have never compared. The same goes for Starbucks, right? So there was a lot of people hate Starbucks because they put mom and pops out of business, right? The reality is the complete opposite. That when Starbucks moves into a neighborhood, mom and pop's coffee shops actually do better for two reasons. One, Starbucks attracts more customers, so there's just more people. And the second reason is there is a groundswell of giving back to the local, and so more people go to the mom and pop, right? The ones that go out of business are the ones that refuse to compete. I'll give you a real life example. This goes back a few years. A real life example. I'm lactose intolerant, right? So I don't have milk in my coffee. And there was a time where it wasn't a foregone conclusion that every coffee shop had soy milk or almond milk or something. So I would always go into the mom and pop that was across the street from Starbucks, always go into the mom and pop and I'd say, do you guys have any soy milk? And they go, nope. I go like, thank you. And I would walk out. Those went out of business because I went to Starbucks. He's right, I went to Starbucks. Now, had Starbucks moved in and they went across the street and said, let's see what Starbucks has, we should offer soy milk. Maybe it's time for us to replace this ripped couch that we've had for 15 years because it's really nice across there and it's really gross here. It's the ones who got angry and refused to compete that went out of business. I think retail's the same. Everybody's pointing fingers instead of saying, we've had it really good for a bunch of years. And the question is now, what is our competitor revealing about our own weaknesses that we can learn to improve? Because that's what competition does. Competition reveals your weaknesses to you. And when you had no competition, you didn't know where you were weak. This is the problem with being the best at anything. Because you don't know where your faults are, and then somebody undermines you because they can see your faults before you can.
Okay. Coming back to my presentation. Any learnings from the video?
So you can type your learnings in the chat box, people. Anirudh, Ayushi, Devinder.
Simon Sinek talked about two things mainly. He talked about better product and competition and staying relevant actually. So when I say, I'll listen to your questions, once Matika has it, but let me just quickly, talk about what was the essence there. So we were talking about better product. A customer is not minding paying more if he's seeing there is a worth in spending that, and he was right. I had never calculated between a taxi or a private auto versus Uber, Uber, Ola, whatever we use. But there is a resistance to change. What the normal taxi drivers, they will have a different, hygiene conditions when you are entering in. They have their own attitude, the way they talk and things. Versus there is an organization who's really giving you a bunch of organized vehicles, making sure they're listening to you also, noting your feedbacks. So in summary, what they're doing is they're giving us a better product and better service.
So, Neetu, I'll just interrupt. We have few answers. Anirudh says that there is always a room for improvement.
Yes.
Soumya said we need competition to know our weakness. Anjali, if we'll not have competition, we'll not get our weakness.
Yes.
Competition tell about our weakness, so they are revolving around the weakness. Competition is not a war, but an opportunity to prove ourselves. Kyra,
Right.
okay. Kanika is competition and necessary to your weakness. Okay, so everybody is rotating around weakness. We can have like as an HR, like, is it important to know your weakness when competition is there?
Yes, yes. Now I tell you why.
Hmm.
And I think the students are really sharp. They are understanding what I'm trying to put here, and it's helping me, going to the next slides also.
Hmm.
Now they're talking about weakness and competition and what you don't have. So do you know what you don't have as an individual or as a business? Take it in any context.
Hmm.
So if we know what is not there or what we are missing, then we are on the right track.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'll tell you that in the next slides.
Hmm.
But coming back to on this point on knowing your weakness is very important these days, because has anybody heard about VUCA world?
I think most of us.
Very good, very good, very good. Disruption,
Yeah.
we are aware, right?
Hmm.
And then agility,
Hmm.
right? So these are a couple of words which you will be keep hearing these days because of its existence. It exists like that. Change is inevitable. That's why change. And then knowing what you don't know is also important, because otherwise you're going to get beaten by a startup. There are certain organizations which has died in front of us. For example, Nokia. Can you imagine Nokia not working? I'm sure ask your grandparents or parents, they will say, yeah, Nokia. It's like Colgate, when you talk about toothpaste, they say Colgate. So it's like, Nokia was the phone. So there are changes which are happening because of disruptions. I also belong to an organization named FarEye. They are also into disruptive space and doing a lot of things which was not existing earlier. Okay, going to the next. So what is important, first of all,
and your slide is not visible. I think the screen is
Really?
just showing the video. Yeah, the screen is still showing that video thing. Now it's done. So
Let me go back. I think it takes one by one, actually.
yeah.
Can you see now? Yes.
Ji.
So now I moved to the next slide, actually. Nothing, nobody missed nothing on the presentation side. Okay, so coming back to this question now, why curious? When we know that change is important, we all agree to that, right? Change is important, and we should know our weakness also, so that we can work on it also. Now I'm asking you one more question. Do you think it is important to stay curious? If yes, why? Anyone wants to attempt?
So Ayushi can write down her answer, because she just said that consider my answer also. So Ayushi, I'll read your answer. That why being curious is important.
Look at this kid, it's like, going with the magnifying glasses in the grass. Who needs to do that? Curious person.
Okay, so we have answers. To learn new skills, Kanika is saying, to be ahead of others because of competition. This is Redmi. So you need to rename yourself, but I'm not able to, yeah. Mehak says, okay, because Ayushi says, because it helps us to compete rather than stay anger and frustrated. Okay. Then Mehak, yes, gets to learn new things and new technology. Devinder is he's saying it's open up new things in our mind. Curious minds are ones who brings what, Deepak? You need to be completing a sentence. Prince says, yes, if we will not be curious, then we will not be able to compete, because it's important for growth. The changes to learn and grow. Anurag is saying, Ayush is saying, my God, okay, good. I'm really scared that I'm sure that the students are really sharp. Huh?
Yes, that's
Okay.
true. So a good understanding, all of you. Now again, why it is important to stay curious, not to become furious. If you are curious and then you're not furious, you're basically understanding. Your attempt is to understand things better. There's nothing wrong to sound like the most foolish kid in the class. I tell you why. Because if you assume that you're intelligent and you kept moving with that assumption without clarifying the doubts you have in your mind, ultimately you will miss on the knowledge or the information. And that's not helping, first of all. So being a professional or being a student, whenever I see myself into this situation, I always ask a couple of questions, whenever there's a new task given to me. For example, I was launching a rewards and recognition program for one of the organizations, and we were trying to automate it. It was like, employees came back and said that it is only the management who announces, and we're not sure what is the transparency mechanism we're maintaining here. So no, I looked at the problem and tried to evaluate in my own sense, and in return launched an automated tool which was given back to all employees, for them to think and reward their own. For example, students can reward each other, for helping each other, that kind of a thing. They loved it. And that didn't happen overnight. I had to go through a process, so I became like this kid, carried a magnifying glass in my hand and looked at each aspect of it. If you see this bubble, where, what, how, why, who, when, all those questions I asked myself to get the answer. Now, going back, as I need my students to go back and answer me, which question you would ask first when you are in a situation or you're trying to do something? Which question is the first question out of this where, how, why, who, when?
Kanika said why.
Okay.
Why? So whys are more. Deepak said how. Okay.
Okay. Any more
Why?
responses?
Why?
Okay. I must say,
Why?
Vatika, your students are really sharp.
Good.
Why?
Good.
Because the answer is correct.
Yeah.
I mean,
why?
at least my understanding is why. Again, Simon Sinek, do hear his why video, my recommendation, all of you. So why is very, very important, because that's the starting point. People who start with when, where, who are basically people who are just going to follow the instructions, versus that makes change, the way you think through on things. So why, meaning the people are really trying to evaluate, why we're doing this, why am I in this, and then the next questions will come. So if I understand my organization objective, then I can, take out, what kind of a talent requirements my organization has, or how my leaders needs to behave so that, we reach that level of success, what we want as an organization, right? Just saying that in one context, that can be interpreted in anybody's context, whatever you're thinking in your mind, right? All right, so why is the right answer? Let me just try playing one more video, which is again relevant here. Now I know how to...
I just finished a keynote and I was rushing back in my car and it was raining out there. And I just realized how much I love my life. And then I was struck by this idea that you too deserve a life like this.
The reality is, I'm an idiot.
Can you hear?
Ji.
So he said so far, the reality is I'm an idiot. Okay. Now I'm just...
And I'm not being flip about it. I don't understand very complicated things. And so I ask a lot of questions so that the person who's telling me something complicated, who's talking in terms as if I understand them, finance or neuroscience, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And I ask enough questions just so that I understand it. So is what you're saying this? No, that's not what I'm saying. Well, what are you? So I'll give you a perfect example. So a long time ago, I had a client. They were a public company, and they brought me on to do some work for them, but they invited me to sit in on a meeting from the consultant that they had hired. And so all the C-level executives and me, and this consultant was giving a presentation about something or other.
And this is your marketing.
This is when I had my little marketing company, and all the C-level executives sitting there nodding and taking notes on the PowerPoint that they had printed up in front of them, and I had it as well, and I didn't understand a frickin' word of it.
Yeah.
Right? I was looking around and so I'd raise my hand and say, I'm really, really sorry. I know I'm the only person in this room without an MBA, but this doesn't make sense. You say A plus B equals C, but based on your logic, A plus B equals D. Can you just say it again, please? I'm really sorry to slow the meeting down, everybody. And you could see the consultant getting frustrated with me and would try and explain it again. I said, I'm so sorry. And one by one, all the C-level executives said, yeah, I don't understand it either. Now, if the idiot hadn't spoken up
Yeah.
and said, I don't understand, they all would have nodded their heads
Yeah.
for fear of looking stupid because they don't understand.
Yeah.
And they would have paid a lot of money for a document they didn't understand, and they would never have used it and would have sat on a shelf. And it's because I'm okay being the idiot. Like, that's why I'm not being flip. I'm okay everybody in the room going, oh, because I have to ask questions until I understand it. But the reality is once I can get to the point where I understand it, I can get it so simple that I understand it, and I can say it in simple terms. That means other people understand it
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of value being the idiot.
Give me a moment. Coming back to my presentation. Hope you can see it.
G.
Perfect. So anything which you have learned from the video? Be an idiot.
Be an idiot.
Okay. Anyone wants to
Anirudh.
interpret?
Okay, so Anirudh is one very active student, I think. Na? Good. Everybody is active, but Anirudh is like amazing. Fastest finger
Topping
first.
the list. Okay.
Fastest
Good.
finger first. Okay. Fear pulls a person backwards. Amazing. Good. Ayushi, perfect understanding can make a business. Okay. Prince, same question I also asked from maths teacher. Okay. Kanika, to be curious. Okay. Yes.
Good. So I go with Anirudh's point first, where he said, he mentioned about, failing pulls back. So I'm happy that he's responded, but let me just throw some light there because it's an important point he has touched. Failing is important. Why? Because it gives you learnings. If you keep succeeding, you don't know what you're achieving. And that's not possible, I'll tell you. Whenever we interview, especially the leadership roles, when we hire the leadership role, I always ask 2 questions to them. Share your successes, share your failures. And if anybody is unable to share the failures with me, I treat that person has not learned enough.
Correct.
Right? So it's important for all of us to try new things which we don't know what we don't know, and then make attempt to create some small successes around, and then you will never know by when from your small successes you have achieved the big one.
Right.
Okay. Going to the next slide. So that brings us to this important content here. We all have been talking about changes, learning. We don't know everything. So tell me now, while I get into the content of this slide, I want some of you to think of an experience or a learning which you did not think some time back, but now you have it. You have practiced it. You have learned on it, something. And that could be anything. Okay, so start thinking on that lines, and side by side, let me share what I have here. Stages of change and learning. Stages of change and learning is a continuous process. It never ends till we die, right? That carries 4 stages: unconscious incompetence. I don't know that I don't know. Conscious incompetence. I know that I don't know. Conscious competence. I am practicing it. I'm trying to understand and learn how it needs to be done. Unconscious competence. I don't know that I know, right? I know, I need not to be knowing or practicing this all the time, but when you know how to do something through unconscious habit, right? Now I give you an example here. Driving a car. How many of you know driving a car?
So you can raise hand, people. Instead of writing yes, you can raise hand.
A car or a 2-wheeler, I did not know. I still don't know how to drive a 2-wheeler, but I know how to drive a car. So after bicycle, I straight away moved to driving a car. But yes, anyone knows driving, especially car, because I'm going to give that example. I learned car driving, so I can, quickly relate to small details of it. Okay. So we have participants, who knows driving car, at least 15% of the total crowd here. Sure. So let's come to the first step of unconscious incompetence. Someday I realized, earlier I was just going through bicycle or taking the taxis, etc. Then I realized that I need to own my own car. and I need to learn that. That's the aha moment. That's the awareness to me that I want to learn car, right? Till then, I did not know. I don't know so many things right now. I don't know swimming. I don't know skydiving. I don't know scuba diving. So there are so many things which I don't know, but still I don't feel a need of it. But I felt a need. The moment I felt a need, I became aware that I don't know car driving. Okay. I moved to the second stage in that case. And that second stage is conscious incompetence. Now I don't know, but now I want to learn. And I need somebody, or that somebody is a resource. That could be Google, that could be in this context, that needs to be a driver who can take me to in his driving car, and I learn from him, right? So what he's telling me basically here, he's telling me rear mirror, he's telling me seat, he's telling me gears, 1, 2, 3, 4, and reverse gear, functions of all of it, right? Combination, how ABC works together, gear, brake, accelerator, right? And you need to switch on AC later and the stereo even further later, right? So that's the stage where I'm in a conscious incompetence. Now I am in the process of learning that skill. That becomes my third stage, conscious competence. He has made me learn while he's driving, he's sitting on the other seat and I'm sitting at the driver's seat and learning it, right? He's taking me to a broader roads and isolated roads where there's not much of traffic, otherwise what will happen. So that's my ouch moment where I'm learning and trying to change myself, learning the skill of driving. Okay. Third stage I've covered. Now I'm in the fourth stage where what I'm doing, anyone wants to answer? What's the fourth stage of unconscious competence?
Hurry up. So Anirudh, fastest finger first. What's the fourth stage? Kanika, Prince, Anirudh, Deepak, what's the fourth stage? You can type your answers here in the chat box. Okay. So Deepak, driving without putting much efforts.
Excellent.
Good. We can have responses from a few female drivers. Driving yourself without any help. Okay. Okay.
Good. So then let me answer this thing, a good answer, of course. But in this fourth stage, what I want to explain here or state here is unconscious competence is a state where you become so competent that you don't even realize that you're driving, right? For example, it happened with me, and I'm sure whoever is driving will relate this with me, that I started from my home. I picked up the key. I started in my mind and I reached office while attending a call, while planning my day, while thinking, maybe this song or that song, or, doing various other activities, or maybe watching the side drivers and enjoying the weather, etc. Without realizing, I so many times changed the gears, stopped at the red light, and did so many things together. And then when I parked my car, I just had gone back to check whether I really locked it or not. So that's it. So that's the fourth stage when so today, if I'm talking to you and, creating an engaging conversation, this is not happening today. The process started long back when I started becoming an audience person, in my sense. And still, I don't call myself at the fourth stage. I still call myself at the third stage in that sense, because there is a lot of things which I need to tune, learn before really coming and presenting a content to an audience. And which audience, again, that's very important, how you're presenting it. So going back to this, if you're not doing that, then, observe this picture. This picture is giving what this policeman is doing. He's issuing a challan to this gentleman for not driving correctly. So put this in the context of your life, put this in the context of being a student, what the ecosystem will react to you, or the checks and balances will work to you, is issuing you the challan. So do you want to be in that situation, or you want to move to the fourth stage, is a choice. Digging further into that, when we have realized that this is unconscious incompetence, so many things today we have unconscious incompetence, right? So if we are not moving from first stage to second stage, we are staying in our comfort zone. Okay, that's this picture talking about. We are in a comfort zone. If we are not fearing anything, Fearing doesn't mean that you're shivering or, fearing from something. It's basically you have now you know that you don't know.
Hmm.
Okay? And from there, you have made an attempt. So there is a learning model. I'll just share a quick learning model, which I always keep in mind whenever I come across a new request or a new situation, and then I need to deal with that. So there is a learning model which we all can apply here to come out from this confusion state or making mistake state is exposure, education, and then third is experience. So first I need to expose myself, talk to few people, speak to some experts, read Google, or search relevant content, train myself in certain sense. Then education, education is like, going through that material or maybe going through certification or a course, which we are doing now. And then third thing is experience, gaining my own experience, getting my own success and failures out of it. That's my learnings, right? Then we are in a learning zone and then in the growth zone. If we keep learning, we keep growing. Learning equals to growth, basically. If you're learning, you're growing. Equals one more, third one you can add equals is compensation. If you keep learning, you keep growing, you keep earning, right? Remember the 3 idiots, right?
Hmm.
That stands true, by the way.
Hmm.
These days, earlier, my father, I used to ask him, Papa, when you're going to get promoted next? So he keeps telling me. But these days, that promotion thing doesn't make much difference, right? What makes difference is what you're learning in your
Right.
role. Because that horizontal learning is more important than vertical learning.
Correct.
And it is important to stay rich, respected, and consulted as an expert all the time. So growth is important. We all agree that, and be it as a student or be it as a professional or be it in any phase of life, many of you may choose not to do a job. Many of you may choose to open a business. So then, what all you'll be needing, it's very, very important. So what all I had been talking about in my previous slides, I'm just bringing some key elements in our discussion, and all of this is specially curated for this group. It is nowhere available on internet, right? I just thought of this group, what could be the outcome, and then thought myself 15 years back as a student, and then tried to build this content which could be a useful thing for you. Now I'll ask, what is agility? To grow as a successful professional, these are a couple of competencies which all we need to have. Competency is basically skill, which we'll be continuously performing, because that's like a driving skill, right? So these are certain skills which we need to constantly learn. So I'll throw some light, looking at the time, I'll throw some light and give you some pointers in mind, which you should keep in mind. See if your management will allow, we can touch upon any of it in deeper also in future. But for now, I'll just give you some tips around it. So quickly, what is agility?
Okay, so we have answer. I'll just read it for you. To move quickly and easily.
Yes.
Ayushi is saying.
Yes.
Smartness, Prince said.
Okay.
Anirudh, a skill to change directions.
I'll go with the first answer. Who gave that? Abhinav?
Okay. Ayushi, to move quickly and
Ayushi.
easily.
Yes. So quickly and easily, you've seen the sports person, the way they fell down, they quickly go up, get up, and then do their action. So that's agility, the dexterity or the way we are moving forward on things simply and easily. That's agility. Agility is the first skill which I would say is needed by any individual to stay in current environment. So you need to mentally and physically move together on things. That's agility. Okay. In organizations, if I'm sure many of you have cousins or brothers and your parents may be in the software organization, for example, we talk about agile management, agile framework. So that's again basically because so many things changes at client side, and then you need to make things. So there is an agile framework nowadays. Otherwise, earlier it was a waterfall model which was practiced. You agree on something, you move on things like Germany works. But now these days you need to be like Indians or Americans, who needs to just quickly move. Whatever has changed, now move, right? So being into startup organization, agility never bothers me because I have been into the situation. What bothers me is stability. Right? So I need things keep moving, and so that I can keep myself aligned and agile to it. Second is design thinking. What is design thinking? Anyone?
Uniqueness,
Mm-hmm.
be creative, solving problems by prioritizing needs. Anirudh says creative ideas. Kyra says thinking towards a solution to the problem. So
Okay.
creative.
Okay, I'll go with Cairo's answer and the second answer that was creative, being
Creative,
creative. Yeah. So these two answers are close to design thinking. So think is like that. Again, these terms you'll keep hearing from now. So design thinking is basically thinking out of the box, right? So which doesn't exist. You know, you look at the problem and then come up with a solution in a various different ways. So that's design thinking. It's again very, very important. But before that, you need to know what is the current solutions given around it, right? So then only you can give out of box thinking or the other level of thinking. Third is communication. What is communication and why it is important? Anyone? Leave about what is communication. Again, that's also an important thing in my mind, but just want to know, what do you understand by communication? Just let's focus that.
Soumya is saying able to convey our thoughts or ideas to others. Okay. Ayushi, imparting the right things to the right person at right time. Then share your ideas, Prince. Neha, to know what the other person wants. Kanika, exchange of ideas. Deepak, most important for any relation to work out. Okay, this is good. Ability to share ideas, Akansha. Devinder, the key point to share our ideas. Rashmi, sharing ideas and views. Kyra, ability to express our minds according to other perspective. Anirudh, create human relations. Okay.
Right. Okay. So good answers, but let me join all of them together now to say what is communication. So for example, if you're not talking to me today, I feel like I'm just speaking, right?
Correct.
But when I am hearing the response back from all of you and you're talking to me, then we are communicating, right? That's one aspect. At least there are two parties in communication. It's not one party, right? Just expressing an ideas and view is just half. It's 20% of communication. The rest 80% of the communication is how the other person is perceiving you, right? Or understanding you. Because the other person is also coming with so many things in mind when you're communicating. What he has in it for herself, why she's talking to me on this, why this time. So many things comes in our mind, right? And to communicate, you need to set the context. You need to make sure that you are being perceived in the right sense, and then you're listening to create a complete communication. I know some people who just fall in their voice, who just fall in love with their voice, when they speak, or their experiences. They just lose the track. What was the discussion? I'm sure while I'm saying that, many of you must be thinking, I have a friend who just keeps talking about himself, right? Setting expectations. So setting expectations, again, very, very important, because when your professors is saying, let's come with this chapter ready tomorrow. So if you're not clear which portion, what do you mean by ready? Are you going to ask the answers from the question and answer, or are you going to ask us to do the role play, or are you going to ask us to read that in the college? So what exactly it is? Setting expectations is very, very important. Again, it falls back to your communication thing, but I kept it intentionally outside of communication, because setting expectation, I've seen, has become the most critical skill these days. Because when you're talking in globally, and people say something, people interpret something, and then they do something, and then when the time is lost, and then there is a dissatisfaction, right? So as much as you can clarify what person is looking for, setting expectation is a very crucial skill. Social intelligence, develop hobbies and interests. So why I've included that, so this design ideas gave me this picture. I wasn't really a fan of it. This camera thing, photography is the competition. Photography is the hobby kind of it. What I meant by this social intelligence, develop hobbies and interests. So as we grow, or as we move next, I'm sure when the students will start the class, they'll start knowing each other, or maybe the other batches also, this and that. Or the college students, or the seniors, or the professionals who have already gone out from the college doing different things. What would you need? You need some social intelligence. You need some common interests, right? Or if I am talking to, let's say, in an international candidate, for a director of product management position, then I need to, click somewhere with him where he feels, yeah, she understands me, right? We are related. It's not US India, right? She understands what I'm saying and she can relate with me. So for that, you need to create. If you don't have the hobbies, it's not for you now. It's basically for you to crack the conversation or create break the ice with the person. So how you start that? By developing certain hobbies and interests. So there are certain people who are the influencers are basically having they play golf, right? They learn sports, right? There are so many, my international colleagues talks about Manchester United or the Wimbledon, or there is a football matches, etc. happening. So unless I know about it, I'll not be able to participate in the conversation, and they feel like she doesn't know. Yeah. So that's again a very, very important element to crack the conversations with people. It is very important to learn certain skills, learn certain hobbies or interests, which is of global nature. Or if you don't have, please introduce few in yourself and go to that first stage of, right now we're all at the first stage, so move to the second stage of learning, right? Okay, global outlook. Why I added global outlook is basically, for example, FarEye or News Corp or Wind Shuttle, etc. were the global organizations where I worked. I'm sure many of you, when you will join organizations, you will join global organizations. So that means is, there is certain norms or non-negotiables organizations practice. For example, wearing an iCard, maybe, right? Or having the values on your laptop somewhere, designed and tagged. So that is something non-negotiable, right? What is negotiable is your regional changes, laws, or the way you operate. So global outlook is important when you talk about today's world. It's not only in India or only in NCR you're talking, you're bringing the outside in perspective to the situation, what you're discussing. See, all of this is important to grow as a successful professional and an individual. So these elements are important. Build knowledge. Whatever we are doing, let's say we're studying today organization behavior, we are studying today industrial psychology or statistics, permutation combinations, then it is important to build knowledge around it. What is the applicability? Read some case studies, go through some interesting videos. So build knowledge around the topic which you are dealing with, right? Last but not the least, broaden your perspective. Broaden your perspective is important. Once you build all of it around, then broaden perspective is certainly going to help. It is not only, it's like a perception, you're just thinking from your side. Have you seen, if you have a mobile phone or something, any other gadget around you, just type perception images and see what is coming. I think when I did it yesterday, I was seeing there was a picture, there were two men standing. One was saying there's a 6, and the other one was saying, no, it's 9. Right? So that was the first picture which I could see. Both perspectives are correct, right? But then how you're going to communicate and apply your knowledge and convince the person. So understand the other person's perspective also, and then involve everything under the context and then respond. That's important. So other person is also right because he's seeing his reality. You are seeing your reality. So to broaden your perspective, understand the perceptions, understand the underlying assumptions a person must be coming back with, dropping his guards, and then getting yourself involved in the communication. Remember, I've seen a movie called Drishyam. What was that? It was basically, setting the context in certain way and making that as a reality. So perception is reality.
Correct.
All right. So grow as an influencer. While we were talking about this slide, this is a very heavy slide. I tell you, it's not an easy slide. So I'll provide this content to Vartika. She can share with all
I'll share
of you.
it with us. Yes.
So grow as a successful professional is the first thing where you understand these are the key competencies or skills which we all need to learn. None of us is a master in any of it. And this keeps changing over a period. Even this is applicable to me after 17, 18 years of experience in HR. if I want to stay in a molting process like eagle, right? I need to keep learning all of this and stay relevant. Now grow as an influencer. Why I used influencer? I could have used leader, I could have used entrepreneur. So I don't want to decide your future, right? It's in your hands, what you're thinking to become. But definitely you want to influence people at certain stage, right? Maybe in your college also, you want to organize something, invite somebody, or do something which is creative. So you need to play a role of an influencer. However, I'm keeping in mind as a leader also, an influencer is a leader, So what are the key things a person needs to keep in mind? First is empathy. You're understanding the other person's perspective also, giving them enough space to communicate and say things rather assuming his side of it, right? You remember that 6 and 9 picture? 6 and 9 both are correct, right? Then listening. Unless I listen to the other side of it, I don't know. I just share a quick example coming to my mind. There was we recently hired a contractual resource, and in 10 days, manager came back and he said, ask him to serve notice and leave. I instantly had gone back with a couple of questions to him just to understand his side also. And instantly, the moment I told to the contractual agency that, hey, I'm looking for releasing this person, they said, please help us to train the guy. What are the things which he can do? So you need to listen before you just jump to the conclusion. And now, this is a real-time example. Yesterday evening only, manager said, I want to give him another chance.
Oh.
Yeah. So listening is important. I don't know what Vatika has to say. I don't know what the students has to say or the professor has to say when we are in a communication. So remember this thing, communication. The most important is not speaking. The most important is listening. You will learn something from the other perspective side, and then it is helping you not to assume also because you're listening. Right? Then third important skill is collaboration. Collaboration meaning win-win. Right? You are in a situation where you are doing something with a group of people. Certainly there will be a group of people because we are not going to lead things all in isolation in any situation. So collaboration is win-win. You're bringing the interest of the people also in mind while you are leading your own stuff. So don't never assume yourself to be one successful person in the entire world. Right? That will never be a situation. You will be a group of people or a talent or a team who comes together and then achieve something. So I'll give you a quick example. Has anyone of you seen this movie Ford versus Ferrari? If not seen it, please see it. Raise your hands if 3 students. Good. Has seen it actually. Ford versus Ferrari. Okay. Awesome. Good to see. One person has removed the hand. 8 people. Okay. So good to know that some of you have seen it. Now you know what I'm talking. How many of you have heard this race name called Le Mans? Cool. Good to see that you people are familiar with that. So Le Mans is basically a race which Ferrari always aspired to be part of. And it's a car race. And Ferrari is a car racing. It's a racing car, right? So there was a time when Ford wanted to purchase Ferrari. The negotiation or the team arrived to Ferrari's office, and then they were talking about purchasing Ferrari. So they were fine because anyways they were up for sale. They were like, fine, we want to go ahead in the partnership or the treaty or the partnership or whatever, or the acquisition. So then Ford said one thing. Ferrari management asked them that, no, we want to still participate in Le Mans in future also. So Ford people, somehow they had gone into some zone and they said no to it. Right? And that was a deal breaker for them. So that never happened, right? It's an interesting movie. I encourage all of you to do watch it. A lot of learnings into it about corporate life, how to please speak up and, break the norms. And then you will like, Mac Damon definitely in his role, who's leading the conversations around the car racing, right? Then one more thing which I want to talk about, collaboration. You remember I'm sure 100%, no need to raise your hands now. All of you know Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, there was a time when Krishna had gone to Kaurav's place for negotiation, a treaty. He said, no, let's just divide things, no need for a fight. The last attempt he made, right? So we all need to know, again, that's very important thing. We all need to know when that time has come. This is the last conversation. If you're not opening then also, then you're breaking the deal. So, always get a sense of when I have the last opportunity. Even if you are in the negotiation, we always see there is a last opportunity, right? When you are, for example, we have seen our parents talking about like 5 rupees, 10 rupees. Itna kar lete hain. Now that all the time has gone because a lot of vendors and things have become online and you're just picking up on the set price. So coming to this example, which I was talking about, Kauravs and Krishna. So Krishna was saying that, okay, let's just divide things. They said no. And then he said 5 villages. He said no. They will not even get a tip of a needle also. So he could have done the treaty, the treaty could have gone and we could have avoided Mahabharata in past, but that never happened. So I'm bringing all of these examples to share with you what collaboration means, what win-win means, what deal breaker is, right, or deal maker is. So make sure that as an influencer, you're keeping that in mind while you are into that situation. Developing trust. So developing trust is again very important thing. In your house, with your friends, you need not to develop trust, right? You are already in trust, right? So when, for example, when I induct my own team members in my team, I say that you have my trust unless you break it, right? So when we say developing trust, how trust develops, basically keeping the other person's interest in mind, you appreciate the other person's knowledge, and the communication is straight, right? In your house, you need not to develop trust. Do you develop trust with your brother, with your mother, with your father? No. Or with your sister, right? The answer is no, because you're also already in a trust relationship. You know everybody is going to take care of you. You know your interests will never be undermined. That is the first thing. So people drop their guards the moment they know they are in a trusting relationship, and the most benefit of it is you feel safe in that relationship, and then you open up. You talk about anything and everything which you feel about things. That's the kind of a relationship you need to build if you want to become an influencer. Last but not the least, again, industry trends and awareness. Again, very, very important skill, because if you are in a debate, I was talking to Vatika yesterday, what helps a person in debate? You will be in debates, right? You will try to prove yourself, right? So how will you convince? I am saying this is right, you are saying this is wrong. What's the next thing can convert other person's wrong into my right? Maybe people wants to respond. Anyone? What helps you in debate? I've seen some raising hands.
Facts.
What did you say? Facts. Yes. Yes, that's the right thing. That's the right answer also. Facts. So if you know and quote
Facts,
examples.
proofs, by telling the
Yes.
facts. Okay, facts and proofs.
Correct. So if you know that what situation you are in and what kind of a trends, for example, when their organizations were losing jobs last year, our organization had the same discussion. I said, no, we are growing, we are not doing that. Anyways, our organization was never intending to do that, but we were trying to understand. Anytime, for example, we have recently launched a referral program. What is referral program? Referral program is applicable to customers also and for employees also. So I am putting in HR context for a moment. So any open positions, people can refer other people, right? And when they refer, they get bonus. That's a norm. That happens across the industry. In addition to that, what we had done was we were trying to understand the industry trends and see, what other people are doing. And then we saw that nobody's doing gamification. So that was another creativity over it. So we added a gamification into it. But that's one thing. Why I am discussing, if you put industry trends to become an influencer, you can influence the decision in your favor. Right? So I'm just looking at my notes. Is there anything which I'm missing? So now, if now the next slide is questions, because we're going end to end. We have already achieved our 1 hour. So just last thing, you remember this movie called Dangal? Right? This girl, this Dangal girl became this, who was playing this Geeta Fogart role. This girl, in the end, what happened to her? When she was in the final fight and her father was locked inside a room and she could not see his inspiration or his guide around, and she was all alone. What happened to her?
She was lost. Deepak
She
said.
was lost, but then she remembered her third step, every bits and piece of it, and then she achieved the fourth stage there. Unconscious competence. She remembered her father saying different things and she started applying all of it, and she did this 5-star flip in the end to earn those scores. So this happened when we keep practicing it, keep learning, keep focusing, and in the end we achieve something which is unusual, unseen, unprecedented. So with this note, I think I am done with my material today and with my interaction today. Amazing interaction, students. I really felt that I'm talking to people who are much aware and really sharp and smart kids who are really trying to make a difference in this world with a start in the course. Any questions? Yeah.
So I had one question was there from Abhishek in the starting. What is the real change, what we need to see in the world, or what our surroundings demand?
So change is something, first of all, what we think is needed, anyways, everything is changing today. So our ecosystem is changing, our normal environment is changing. I remember I said in the beginning that had it been not this pandemic, maybe we're all meeting in the office, getting ready, prepared, and then sitting in the office. So first change is this, that, we are in a very different world than earlier. Everything is simulated these days, right? Because of technology, at least we could talk, interact, but it's a simulation. I don't see it as a real world otherwise, unless you meet people. We are all a social animal, right? What is the second part he mentioned? What we are
What
required
we
to
are
bring.
seeing, yeah.
So basically disruptions, I would say, one, first of all, cope up with the change, agility, mentally and physically move into the change. See, it's very easy to say, but I know so many families and so many professionals who have lost their jobs, who have lost their lives. So much damage is happening to the families. It's just, we are speaking about it, but I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that things are fine at everybody's end, and we all are at least alive. And then second thing, which is again very true, is we are in a disruptive world, VUCA world, where things are changing day in, day out. So then second important thing is me, myself. Am I aware what I'm doing? Am I aware that I am coping up? Having said that, there are so many moments comes in my mind also that, I need to remind myself all of these things and come out from stress. Close a laptop, take some breather, think about something else, watch a movie and do different stuff. So one is understanding and keep noticing what's really changing in the world, keep agility there, mentally and physically moving into the change, not restricting. You remember the Mumbai trains? I'm sure any must have, some of you may seen it or experienced it. Mumbai trains, you just need to stand at the right train and then crowd will pull you in, crowd will pull you out. Or if many of you may have learned swimming, I've seen my son learning swimming. So he was so swift in learning because he was going with the flow. We will fight with the water. Who will first time learn it will fight with the water. So first thing is go with the flow. You remember my first slide? There's a chaos and there's a peace in the picture. So why? Because of the two parts of the questions which this gentleman asked. Any other question?
How inner consciousness delay a growth of a person?
How is the consciousness?
How inner consciousness delay a
conscious.
growth of a person?
Inner consciousness, yes. So if you remember my slide, which was talking about the learning stages, that's the inner consciousness. See, the first step for any change is an individual, me. So if I don't know, inner consciousness is not there, I will not change. My parents asked me to become an IAS. I never thought about it. I never wanted to be. I always wanted to be an HR professional in a private setup. So, and inner consciousness never accompanied me there. And I told them, no, I'm not aspiring to be an IAS. So that's a different thing altogether. At the same time, this bunch of students, some of you may be already thinking to become an entrepreneur. Some of you may be already thinking to get into a profession, maybe digital marketing, or maybe brand marketing, doing PRs, or maybe content strategies, product strategies. So these are the different areas which you may be aspiring. So first step is inner consciousness. From there, everything is driven. So that's the first step, I would say.
Okay, so this is, I think this question, you need to give an answer to this. What kind of skills we need to develop in this tough situations and difficult situations? I think you've already answered, but then just a gist of it.
Sure. So agility is very, very important. And skills, see, I have covered the soft skills already,
Correct.
you know, and that's applicable to me, Vartika, anybody. Anybody who wants to be successful, all of these skills are as it is applicable. Now coming to the technical side of it, let's say, I want to crack a job, after 3 years, 4 years, when I'm done with my course, or 2 years, whatever is the course duration. So I want to crack a job. Start doing that today. Don't wait. So this session today, assume this session is for you in being a professional, but everything is starting today. It's not that after 2 years something suddenly happens and we becomes a professional, a successful professional. So pick up the area. Let's say if I say digital marketing, I just said that because it's too much in fashion these days, digital marketing or content marketing. Start writing blogs. Start understanding what kind of tools and technologies which are available. Follow, create, make your third stage, you need somebody as a mentor. Make certain people your mentors. So go with the resources. So move to from first stage. By asking this question, you have moved from first stage actually. Now you're in the second stage. You are creating a conscious, you know that you're incompetent about what, right? And then from there become a conscious competent. So with the college, you will find a lot of your alumni into various organizations. I'm sure there's a plan which is in place where students will come and talk to the junior folks also and share their learnings and networks, leverage their network also. So these are the things which we need to keep doing from now. So don't think it's my 2 years is my luxury period. I think school was the luxury period in my view. From the time you've entered in a management college, it's a time you are already in a job, you're already in a profession. So as soon as you zero down, you cannot do everything, right? So what we need to find out is understanding what we don't know and then making the conscious attempts around how we want to attain it. There are a lot of courses and certifications which is available. So we should start learning the technical side of it to be respected in that area. So by the time, for example, I knew there was a student, there was a mother who called, I was in News Corp at the time. So she said, my son, he's going to go abroad very soon. And can you take him for an internship? I said, okay, which course? She said, he's in 12th. And when I said, just send, it was interesting. So I just asked her, can you send me his resume? So she sent me the resume. And from 10th to 12th, I think around 10 organizations he had already worked. So that's a pattern which people apply when they want to go abroad and they want to show kids are doing all of that. So even in India, this is like in 2 years time also, while you are in the course, you need to start achieving something which will enhance your knowledge about a topic, be it a course, be it an exposure. Like, remember the 3E learning model: exposure, education, and then experience. Experience comes third.
So we'll take a last question, Neetu. Here she says that while seeing and experiences the world, specifically the corporate world, should we have a view of a philosopher or an athlete? Kaira.
Very good question. I'm also thinking, what should be the right answer? I think athlete. Philosopher is like, that is helping you to stay in the situation, but athlete is navigating you out, right? So philosophy is like, okay, knowing things and talking about it. It's like, the old age people who are sitting under the tree and talking, playing cards and talking about it, right? It's philosophy. But then athlete is something like agility, who's navigating you further. I think none of us is in that situation right now. We need to be athlete if we want to stay like a butterfly or the eagle in the molting process, which I was talking about. Agility is important. So being athlete is very, very important. Understanding moving physically, mentally, no matter what tough situation it is very, very important.
Correct.
Good question. Yeah.
So first of all, I would like to thank Neetu for sparing time on a Saturday. It's a off day, okay, and giving my students, and it was actually a brilliant session, amazing session. Second, I would also like to thank the students, because without students and without audience, while they are not responding, the session would have been lifeless, I think. So you have made the session active, and Neetu also responding to the questions. And maybe in the coming sessions, when they are there in the classes, we can invite you here with the students and have a round of session with them. So here comes okay. This is your slide, last slide, Neetu.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
was just reading this question: how does an HR decide whether the candidate is apt for the job?
Okay.
So
Okay,
I want to
Deepak.
hire all of you. I want to hire all of you. But what happens is,
Okay.
one, there is a job, and then there is a suitability. Suitability in
Correct.
terms of your skills,
Hmm.
and then your orientation. For example, I said always keep in mind what you have achieved as a success and what you have lost as a learning
Hmm.
failure. So keep
Hmm.
these two in mind, hand in hand. They both go hand in hand to stay as an open learner. So that's one thing, and I think I've given you a recipe. So keep this in mind while you are growing, and take this as a stages of learning. Nobody is an expert of anything, right? We need to keep learning, keep growing, keep imbibing, and you will ultimately get multiple offers. These days, people are getting multiple offers. So I'm sure you all will have multiple offers when you are outside in the world and looking for jobs. Yeah. This is the last slide, just a quote from my side, that in order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure. Yeah, डर के आगे जीता है. We all have heard Salman Khan, right? So,
Yeah.
good. Thank you, Vartika, for
Thank
calling
you,
me in.
Neetu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you,
And
students.
we promised that the highest participating student will give something. So we'll stick to our
Correct.
promise. We'll talk offline about it.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. I'll do that. I'll do that. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much,
Thank
Neetu.
you.
Bye bye. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Yeah, bye.
Bye.